Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to make this video because making this video means I broke through my weight loss stall. If you are new here, my name is Courtney. I have been a carnivore for about a year and a half. I lost 45 pounds fairly easily in about 10 months and I've been stalled ever since. So I want to share with you everything I've done, and this is not medical advice, blah, 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 just sharing my opinion. And any weird noises you hear, the dog is sitting right here. It's not me. So any licking, it's the dog. In the last 6 months or so, when I've been stalled, I wasn't always tracking my macros. So I think that also kind of played a part of it, but I feel like it's also good to take breaks from like dieting. So even though I was kind of in the mindset still of trying to lose weight, I wasn't actively tracking that whole time. I did start tracking again about a couple months ago and it was going great. I was working with Dani, I was doing her accelerator weight loss program, and then I fell off tracking and I gained a few pounds. So anyways, Dani is amazing. I definitely recommend her. But I was talking with a friend, Jules, hi Jules, and she's like, have a little bit lower fat. Like, don't go low fat, but just lower your fat a little bit to see if that helps your body tap into the fat you have. So I tried that. I lowered my fat a little bit and I upped my protein a little bit. So let me just rewind a little bit. My macros since I started were around 1,800 calories, 130 grams of fat, 130 grams of protein. I always suggest, for like a blanket statement, if someone is just getting started, a great place to start is whatever your goal weight is. Like for me, it was 130, 130 grams of fat, 130 grams of protein. So if your goal is 180, you would do 180 fat, 180 protein. I think that's still a great place to start and adjust as needed. So for me, that worked great to lose 45 pounds, but I needed to change it up, shake things up, keep my body guessing. So I worked with Dani. We lowered my macros slowly to end up being about 1550 calories and just lowered my fat and protein a little bit, but they were still roughly 1-to-1 ratio. And I was losing weight that way, but then I fell off and here we are. So when Jules mentioned the chicken thing, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. So I did that for about 2 weeks and the scale started going back down. Mind you, I've been gaining and losing these same like 5 to 7 pounds for like months now. So it started going back down. I'm like, okay, this is great. We're moving in the right direction. And it just felt good. I was having a lot of chicken thighs, so my fat was still a lot. I was probably more like 110 fat and 140 protein, give or take. So the scale started moving in the right direction. And then I'm actually now working with Alice and Kevin. They're on here. We are doing one-on-one coaching. So I need a little bit more hand holding and accountability. So we are working together right now. They were actually great with the macros that I recently adjusted a little bit. So Dani got my calories down, which is great, but I made the changes with the chicken by lowering the fat, upping the protein, and they were good with that. So I am around 110 to 120 grams of fat, and then my protein is around anywhere between like 140, 160. They look at your whole week's worth of macros, so my day-to-day changes, and I'm going to talk more about like working with them like after we work together. I will go over like the results and, you know, dive into that a little bit more. But I like how they do it as like a whole week thing. And then they're also giving me a meal plan right now, which is good because instead of me just eating whatever I want and putting in my macros, they have me prioritizing beef again, which I kind of fell off. I was having a lot of pork rinds. I am still having some dairy, having seafood, eggs, so I'm just like a little bit more dialed in and it seems to be working. I want to go over a few other things that I've done and then also a few tips for you to make some changes because I know so many of you guys are relating to this weight loss stall. Some people just do carnivore and like boom, they're at their goal weight before they know it and it's easy. And some of us really have a tough time with those last like 10 to 20 pounds. So hopefully some of these tips can help you guys. To start, if you haven't been tracking your macros, I would definitely do some logging and see where you're at or even where you've been at. So if you typically maybe eat the same things or you can reflect on what you have been eating this last week and log that in, I would 100% do that so you know where you're starting from and you can make changes from there. I think a lot of people, well, I mean, I feel like this is duh to say you're either eating a lot or not enough. And I find that to be the case. Either you're like severely overeating because you think you can eat all the things you want on carnivore, or you're under eating. And I still don't totally understand how like all that works. Like, well, if you're under eating long enough, like, you're going to waste away. But my understanding is if you're under eating a lot and then some days you're overeating, that maybe your body hangs on to that. I could be wrong. Remember, I'm not an expert, guys. I'm just sharing my journey and what I'm learning. So definitely do. Dani Conway calls it reverse tracking, which I love. So figure out where you have been. And like I said, if you are just starting, a great place to start is equal parts fat and protein for whatever your goal weight is, but make changes as needed. That worked great for me, and now I'm making changes. So some people even do better on like way higher fat and a little bit lower protein. So you just need to play around with what's going to work best for you. But I will say what has helped the most is staying consistent. I would maybe be consistent for a few weeks and then I would fall off even like a day or two. And I don't even mean go off the rails on my food. I thought I was doing good, but I wouldn't track, and then I would gain everything back. So definitely staying consistent on tracking and being aware of what fuel you're putting in your body can be very helpful. Another thing I have started doing is consistently lifting. I've always been horrible about working out. I don't love it. It's kind of a chore for me. I'm getting better about it now. Like now I'm like, oh, I don't want to take a rest day if it was offered up for me, you know, like, oh, you can skip today. I'm like, no, I want to go. So we need to lift heavy weights, especially as women. As we age, we need to lift heavy shit for our bones, obviously to build muscle, but like bone health and bone density, getting muscle around your bones. So when you're, you know, old and you fall, that you're protecting yourself. And it's just so important to lead a healthy lifestyle with lifting weights. It lends itself to a healthy body and longevity. I have consistently been doing that, I think, for like a couple months now, which is like really good for me because I'm usually not that good, because I'm like an instant gratification person, and you don't get that when you're lifting weights. Like when you lift weights, you are going in there trusting that this process will give you results later down the line. And I feel like I'm finally starting to see like all that hard work pay off. I feel like that's 100% what's contributing to my weight loss as well. It's not just the food. And, you know, I still have some fat on my arms, but when I flex, like I see a little baby bicep growing under there. So once I get rid of all this extra body fat, like I'm gonna be ripped, you guys. Another thing we need to prioritize is trying to get good sleep. I am on 7 days in a row. Okay, well, maybe not. I had one wonky night. It was Jeff's fault. But 7 nights in a row of my kid staying in her room all night. She would interrupt our sleep like 4 nights or 4 times in a night, and it was awful. So I have finally been getting really good sleep, and I feel like my body is like calming down and like allowing the weight to release itself. And also trying to manage my stress, which, you know, that's hard, but trying to do all the things, you know, when you're stressed, you're thinking about the future, so you're not being present. So I'm really trying to be mindful and present about staying in the now, and not stressing about like the what ifs in the future, and trying to get back to like my morning brain dump when I write out in my journal, and meditation and all that. I mean, I'm gonna have an underlying layer, whatever the word is, of stress because of this cookbook. Like I have a huge to-do list over my head, but I'm just trying to like, you know, find my inner zen. So I feel like all that contributes to weight loss. You know, weight loss is a hormone thing, and if you're all crazy and out of whack, then you know, that's not going to be in your favor. I've also been consistently getting more steps in, and I'm not going crazy. I'm not walking, you know, a crap ton of miles a day, but aiming for like 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day is great. Get outside, get some sunshine, get some movement that way. But I find it easy for me to, after my workout, hop on the bike, and that way I can also multitask and sit there and get some work done on my phone while I also get some steps in that way. Here's another thing that I think has been helpful, and I kind of fell off of this, is intermittent fasting. So I used to do it in the past. I loved it. I felt great. And then I came across some content on like leptin resistance and how we shouldn't be fasting in the morning. And if anything, if we're gonna fast, then eat breakfast and then stop eating for the day like in the afternoon. And that's hard for me. Like once I start eating for the day, like I want to keep eating. So for me, it's easier to push off my eating window until like the afternoon. and then, have an early dinner, and then, not eating close to bedtime, but that way you're still satisfied and you're not going to bed hungry. So I believe that's also helping as well. And I know I kind of already mentioned being consistent, but we have to be consistent because I did a video on this already. Like, I noticed that when I have so many things to do, my first instinct is to oh, I shouldn't work out today because I don't have time, or I shouldn't do this to take care of myself, when that should be the time we prioritize ourselves the most. Like, why, if we have all these time sensitive things, why do we think the gym isn't one of those? So consistently working out, consistently tracking my macros, trying to get good sleep and stress and all that has been a huge part of this. And don't give up on yourself. I know how frustrating it can be to not see the scale move. It's been almost 9 months or 6 months that I have been gaining and losing the same 5 pounds. But here's the thing, don't give up, because that's not gonna help you get to your goal. If you just throw in the towel, then you're definitely not getting to your goal. Another thing to look at is why you're stalled. For me, hindsight, okay, I was stalled because I was kind of taking a diet break, which I feel like is great and fine and needed. But I wasn't doing all those things. I wasn't working out. I wasn't tracking my macros. I was probably eating a little bit too much. I was in maintenance mode essentially, which is great because now I know when I get to my goal, maintenance mode will be easy, but I would do some self-reflection and see why you might be in a stall, and look at those macros, see what you've been doing, and see what changes you need to make. Whether you need to lower your macros or up them, or if you've been going hard, maybe you just need to take a little break without throwing in the towel. But just give yourself a mind break and just maybe get out of weight loss mode for a second. So I just realized I haven't even said my weight or how much I've lost. So I started out on this journey at 192. So my 45-pound weight loss mark was at 145. And I hit that, 10 months into my journey, and I have gained and lost the same 5 pounds, 7 pounds over that time. So 145 was the lowest that I had seen on Carnivore. Well, this last week I got down to, today actually, 142.6. So I'm 2.5 pounds down from where I would always get stuck. So I'm hoping soon I'll be in the 130s. I still have a bit to go. I would say for me, I'm 5'4", 39. I'm going to have muscle this time around. So I think maybe a good weight would be 125 to 130, maybe 130. I've been 125 before, and I thought that was a great, thin, but not skinny thin. But I wasn't working out and didn't have muscle. So I'm shooting for 130. And we'll just have to see what I look like as that happens. If you're also struggling with the stall, let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're at, what takeaways you had from this. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I was so excited to finally make this video. It's a long time coming, so I hope it was helpful for you all. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share, all the things, and I'll see you guys next time.